So the Buddha's teachings are for all times. They're for whatever may be going on or not going on. And they have this timeless quality, really. And it's kind of amazing that the teachings were given 2,500, 600 years ago and are still equally relevant to this time. And there's a quality that came to mind today that comes up in particular groups of teachings and also just as a kind of a thread throughout the teachings and the practice, really. And that's this word saddha. And saddha can be translated as confidence. It can be translated as faith. It's a quality of the heart that's willing to take another step into the unknown, you could say. And it's kind of essential for our practice and for our life, because even though we try very hard to have a sense of what's going to come next and planning for the future, and I have things in my calendar for 2028. I mean, who knows what's going on by then, And we do our best to kind of plan and organise and get a sense of where things are going and how it's going to be. But we don't know, actually, in reality. We don't know 2 years from now, we don't know 2 months from now, we don't know 2 minutes from now, really. 2 breaths from now. We sort of assume we know, but we don't really. So this quality of saddha is very important to as a quality that leads us forward, not in desire, not in confusion, not in fear, but with a sense of it's so hard to put words to it. Actually, it's a sense of it's got a yes to it, and it's. Because confidence doesn't quite work, because confidence has a sense of certainty about it. But saddha doesn't require certainty. And then faith kind of works for me, actually, quite well. But some people have connotations of faith where it's sort of like about, like believing even though you don't know anything. And it has a sort of maybe an element of ignorance to it. But saddha doesn't have ignorance. It has maybe not knowing. It's the quality that's willing, that steps into not knowing over and over again. And it also is a quality, a quality of confidence, or of and it can be applied to the to stepping into a trajectory of life. And it can also be applied to the teachings, because we don't really know, we can't really know the results of all the teachings until we've lived them, until we've practiced them and embodied them. But if we're not going to really start until we know and we're sure, then we don't start. So it's that quality of kind of think it's this seems good. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And of course, we also need to have evaluation to see, what's the results. Sometimes we might have a sense of confidence and willingness to try something, and then it's clearly not the right thing to be doing or not the right direction, and then we have to reevaluate. That's more like a wisdom quality that we bring in, discernment. And then with what we know now, and with, again, this sense of openness to the unknown, to what can be, then we take another step perhaps in a different direction. And this quality of saddha is of utmost importance in our life. And I think it's because of this word faith, it's got some overlap. There are some people who have a lot of faith in it might be in the Buddha's teaching, it might be in Christ's teaching, or in the teaching of Muhammad or Zoroaster, many different teachings, or even just in nature. Or sometimes people speak about spirit or the universe. There's all these different ways we can frame. We can have a sense of confidence towards a certain trajectory or a certain pathway, you could say. And some people have more of it than others. Some people are more, faith-oriented, or they have a strong saddha, and that can carry you through all kinds of challenging times. And some have less, and they're more analytical, need to have a better analytical understanding before that confidence arises, and that's also valuable because you get great clarity that way. So we're sort of designed a little bit different. Most people have a bit of both, but some people tend more in one direction, some tend more in another direction. So when you have a lot of saddha, you don't need to have everything explained, or you don't need to know when the outcome's going to come, how long it's going to take, or or what every single part of the teaching means. There's a certain quality that kind of carries you from the heart, with the heart leading. It carries you through the path and through one's life. And we're living at a time now where there's a lot of uncertainty as to how things are going to be. Old familiar ways, the ways things have been done for a long time are changing radically and rapidly, and we don't know how it's going to look in a year, in 5 years. And it could be, if we're more fear-oriented, we might just want to withdraw, let's just not do anything. Let's just hide away and wait till it's all over. But that isn't really living. So we need this quality of saddha to step into the next moment and the next day, the next, whatever life brings. But it also attunes to that which is good in the world. So it is this quality, it's a spiritual quality, you could say. It's a holy quality or a sacred quality that's natural to the heart. And when the heart and mind is attuned to saddha, it's also attuned to these wholesome qualities that are inherent. They're here. And, it might seem a little naive, and you might think, oh, well, she's been on a retreat for 2 months in a monastery, so she doesn't really know. And maybe that's true, that I don't really know. But my sense is there is goodness. There is goodness in the world and in the human heart. And not just human, actually, also in the hearts of many, many beings. And there is also a lot of ignorance and greed and aversion, hatred. And those qualities have, at the moment, are getting they've on the world stage. There's a lot of inflation of those qualities, of those of greed, hatred, and ignorance. It's kind of like spectacularly displayed. But that doesn't mean that the goodness isn't still here. So when one attunes one's heart and mind to this quality of saddha, it's also attuning to the inherent goodness that is in this world, that you see actually if you go to the go to Jefferson Healthcare, you see it. Yeah. You go to I mean, just walk downtown. You'll see acts of goodness, and it's all around. It's all over the place. So, yeah, this saddha, this quality of saddha, it's like, okay, I don't know how it's going to be, and it's probably not going to be the way I want it to be, but I can still attune to that, to the goodness that is here. It's like a wavelength or many wavelengths that are current all the time in the world. And there's a group of 5 which I've spoken about before, but I'm just going to touch on that are very important for our practice and for our life. Saddha is, as I've been speaking about, faith or confidence. Virya, which is energy, putting energy into, where we put our energy. Sati, mindfulness, presence. Samadhi, collectedness of mind. And panya, wisdom. And the panya being the wisdom that sees the true nature of things. The emptiness of things, the impermanence of all things. So panya is that quality that's discerning the reality of things. That's not trying to make permanent that which is not permanent. It's not trying to find lasting happiness in what is not lasting. It's not trying to hold on to an identification of me and mine in what is changing here. So it's like the wisdom or panya can meet what is happening. It can meet the moment and understand it and know it directly. And it lets go of those tendencies to grasp and try and fix and manipulate and to try and find a sense of safety and security in what is changing, which is everything. So the safety and security is here, in the present experience, in knowing here and now, and also in attuning to those wholesome, those good qualities. And the Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching is not a teaching of idealism. It took me quite a long time to get that. I thought it was. It sort of seems really like really it is in some ways the most beautiful ideal. But the Buddha's teaching is not about idealism. It is quite realistic. But part of that realistic vision is finding true happiness in this ever-changing world. So it's in a different place to what we're used to looking, not in getting a special experience or having a good situation last forever or staying well and healthy for the rest of our lives. It's which will go on forever, but it's it's being able to meet what life brings with a sense of openness, interest, understanding, and then guiding our heart and mind, our body, speech and mind, really, guiding it in the direction of the wholesome and away from those unwholesome, deeply ingrained habits of greed, hatred and delusion that we all have until we learn to see through them. And this path is not about becoming a perfect person, because it can seem like that, when you look at the teachings. And Buddha even speaks about perfection. And then you have the paramis, the perfections, the 10 perfections or the 6 perfections, depending on what lineage you're in. And then it's like, oh, okay, I've got to be perfect. Got to perfect the perfections. And it is an ongoing practice of correcting, I would say, correcting unhelpful tendencies. It is an ongoing practice of that. But it's not the goal of the practice is not to become a perfect person, but it's to become attuned to the truth of the way things are, And in that attunement, we don't want anymore to do those harmful things we used to do. We don't want to do the things that are harmful to ourselves, that are harmful to others. It starts to fall, those tendencies start to fall away. So the perfection is in being attuned to the truth of the way things are. And the truth of the way things are, it's ever-changing. It's anicca, dukkha, anatta. Ever-changing, not inherently satisfying. Not who and what we are. We can't pin it down as me and mine. So this is the way of things. And there's also the truth of, when we attune our heart and mind to goodness, to what is good and true and beautiful, and we, speak from that place and act from that place, and our mind is filled with that, with what is good and true and beautiful, even if it's just for a moment or two, then we're also that's also an attunement to truth. So we're not trying to fix ourselves to be a certain way that will never be wrong, never be bad, never do anything wrong, never make mistakes. It's not that. But we're constantly, the Dhamma invites us to be constantly present, constantly checking in, constantly adjusting and developing and letting go continuously. And I think it's very easy for us to want to just have a clear, just tell me what it is, how to do it, and give me the book, and I'll just do that. And it's not as simple as that. There are lots of books out there in that library. The Buddha's teaching themselves, several volumes, and there's countless commentaries and personal experiences, and it's trying to point to this, what is really actually a very simple truth, but quite elusive. We can get tricked very easily into trying to become something, be something, fix something, and then it might look good because we find something that's really good for a moment, or maybe for a meditation retreat, or for a period of time, and it's really good, it's perfect, and then it's better than everything else I've ever experienced. Everything without experience, and then you try and get it back, you try and fix it, trying to get rid of all those things that get in the way of it, and then we're just back in dukkha again. We're back in a self, trying to control the world to be the way we want it to be, so we don't have to feel unpleasant feelings, and we can feel pleasant feelings all the time. But pleasant and unpleasant come along like a pair. You can't really have one without the other. So using this quality of saddha, confidence or faith, or sort of an interested yes, and leaning in a good way to the possibilities, using this quality of saddha to attune to what is good in the world, and let that guide us in our life. Wherever our life may lead, who knows? I had no idea, 20 years ago, I had no idea that I would be here in Port Townsend with you all. No idea. But here we are. Yeah. So, no complaints, I have to say. So, remembering to attune the heart, and not letting it get overwhelmed with fear and resentment and greed and confusion, those things will come. They will pass like clouds, or like the weather. They'll come, but we just let them go again, and stay connected to the truth that abides beneath those. So that's my offering today.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.